All right. I'd like to call our meeting to order for January 14th, 2026 at 8:32 a.m. Sorry, I'm 2 minutes late.
I'm sorry.
We have Carolyn said that she would not be here. We have everyone else. Eric has asked to call in. So, Mr. Hendricks, are you on the line?
I am.
Okay. So your reason for calling in?
Work obligation.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to allow Mr. Hendricks to phone in this morning.
So moved.
Terry moves, Brian seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We are on to the minutes of December 4th. Is there a motion to approve those? Brian and Larry, is there any questions or concerns? Nope. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Public comments, anyone?
None?
Okay, member comments. Okay, we're on to routine consent agenda then. Are there items that members would like removed? I would like 718. Yes.
My agenda's not up yet, but I wanted to pull, and it may be the same thing, but the transportation, the radios.
That's 718.
Great, okay, thank you.
Are there any others?
I really want to pull them. I just want to question or comment about some. So, is that possible?
If you want to pull them, yes.
I really don't want to pull them. I just want to reserve the right to have a comment.
Well, go ahead. I mean, make your comment.
Okay. I did this at the same time with law and government. Or no, yeah, law and government. I think it was 7.7, 7.8, 7.12. These are all items that we are asked to approve with a over $30,000 cost to them or tag. I just want to have the staff, for the purpose of the record, just comment about why that is that we're doing that, and maybe Carrie could do that for us.
Are you talking about the resolutions that spend over 30,000?
Right. And without any other information, without any cap or anything like that. It's just a point. I just want the point for the record. So if you want to make that point, then you go ahead.
So the board has typically put these in place because we've had issues with, in the past throughout the year, they will purchase not knowing that they're going to go over 30K, and then we get into a bind when suddenly they do get over 30K. So the position of the county has been, let's just pass these resolutions to begin with so that if in fact they do spend over 30, we're in compliance with our purchasing agreement.
It's fine.
Okay?
I just want that statement made to the record.
Sounds good. All right, anyone else have anything? Yes, Larry.
714.
7. Okay, if that's all we have, then I'll entertain a motion to approve routine consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.17 minus 7.14. John makes that motion and Brian seconds. We'll go to roll call vote. Eric?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay, motion carries. We are on to item 7.14. I'll entertain a motion. Larry moves. John seconds. Larry, you asked this one to be removed.
Yeah, and not that I have a problem with it, that I know, but I don't have the numbers straight in my head. So if somebody is here that could explain the numbers, they spent extra money, but they got some income, and then they have some expenses. And I guess I don't know exactly what they're asking for when it's all over with.
Good morning, Carrie.
Good morning. It's slick out there.
I will speak for court administration because we've been involved with them on this one.
Okay.
So this is the first year where we've moved the reimbursement for the interpreters up to a revenue line. So in prior years, they would deposit the checks from the state against the expense. And that caused some issues just within the system. It's more appropriate that it's revenue. But the challenge, I think, for them is it's a variable and a hard to predict expense. So their expense lines have gone over, but they've actually haven't gone over as much as their revenue lines have gone over. So, you know, I talked to them, this is kind of administrative in a way because we have the revenue to support the expense, about maybe putting some of this in, if you recall, we have some line items in non-departmental that help with some of these truly variable, like fuel and postage, you know, maybe adding this one in for that to cover any overage based on use. Is that?
Oh, that makes it perfectly clear. So,
Were you being sarcastic,
yes,
Larry?
yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
I just said that.
So this is an expense that they cannot control, but the state does supply us some reimbursement. So they've gone over in their expense, but they've also gone over significantly in the reimbursement that we've received back.
Okay, so this is an administrative resolution, and in the end, there's not a solid dollar amount tied to it yet. Is that true?
So this is actually their FY25 budget.
Okay,
So there is, the numbers in there, in the resolution, are the amounts that they need to finish paying out the bills related to FY25.
okay. So in the resolution, what dollar amount do they need to fit? But they're moving it from their revenue side.
Correct. So the offset is the revenue that we receive from the state.
Okay, so at the end run, we're not moving any money other than that.
Correct. We're just increasing their expense line items for interpreters, but the offset to that is revenue we've received from the state. So we're increasing their revenue and expense in the interpreter.
Okay. I'm good.
You're great, Larry.
Thank you.
We're all wiser.
Any other questions? All right,
Oh, wait, this is,
yeah, go ahead.
I don't have a question, I have a comment. And I think that one of the reasons that people may perk their ears is that everyone has heard about what has gone on in Minnesota with the fraud with the interpreters. So, yes, people will want to know about the interpreters.
Okay, we'll go to vote then, on item 714. Terry?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And myself, yes, motion carries. Okay, we're on to item 718. I'll entertain a motion for that item. Terry and Brian. Hi, good morning.
Morning.
And happy birthday.
Belated, thank you, yes.
Younger.
Yeah. That
So
is
when
the
was your
goal.
actual birthday?
Monday.
Monday? So it was 2 days ago.
Oh, yeah.
It was
yeah.
Carrie's birthday recently.
Oh.
Oh, and when was your birthday?
On Sunday.
Oh, look at us, Capricorn.
Should we all sing happy birthday to you too?
No, that's okay.
We can throw in some years in the. Okay, I hear that's a no. All right, okay. All right, so we're on item 718. I pulled this one. So this went through transportation, and the chair of transportation, Jim, has decided to come here this morning also. We had quite a bit of discussion at transportation about it. I asked several questions related to the actual contract itself, not the financial side of it, but then I asked a couple of financial side questions. So I wanted to pull it just so that we could discuss it here. It did pass transportation 5-2, I believe. So, and just for everyone's knowledge, Jim and I are the two that voted no on it in transportation. So, I'll open it up first. Does any of the members have any questions? I mean, Brian and John already heard this from transportation, so.
It also went to law and government.
Oh, did it? Oh, okay. What happened in law and
Law and
government?
government.
Yes.
It passed? Was it discussed
I
at
don't think
all?
there's any, no, yeah.
It was discussed.
Oh, was it? Okay. So you had this 3 times, Brian?
Yes.
Oh, God bless you. All right, go ahead, Terry.
Well, I want to make a comment, but I want to hear what Jim has to say first. But I do just want to state that when this had been presented under capital expenditures, that I had asked when the equipment was originally purchased. At that time, you thought that it was 2018, and I had asked how long what the life of the equipment was, and it was 7 to 10 years. And I was curious why we would be replacing it on the front end of its life expectancy. But then I see in this that it was actually 2019, not 2018. So that would make it even a year less. So just to note that. And then before I go into any of my other questions, I'd really like to hear what Member Kearns has to say. Chair Kearns.
Just for quick clarification, because I think that was an open question, we received the radios midway through 2018, and we paid for them in early 2019.
Okay.
Okay, well, put me on the spot here. I voted no on this in transportation, and I'll tell you why I voted no. I'm not against purchasing radios for the sheriff's department. I'm not against that. I'm against the process that happened here. There were some questions asked in transportation. One was, why can't we use the general fund balance for this radio? And you stated that our general fund balance was a lot lower than we were aware of prior to voting on the budget. I'm paraphrasing that, but that's how I took the answer. Because,
Well, okay, but we should let Carrie clarify that though, so.
Right,
I mean,
and that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
We had a lot of discussion about the use of the fund balance and where that was trending, and you know, we're still above the 6 months. But our challenge is there's no mechanism right now in place to stop it from going down. So the more we use the fund balance, you know, the faster that we'll get below the 5 months.
We will be, after you spend this money, the general fund balance will still be above 6?
So.
Well, you don't have end of last fiscal year number yet.
Not yet. So again, it comes back to choices. So we actually have this money sitting in the capital fund if the board chooses to use that from the capital fund. The challenge becomes in the out years, in the projections, when we're using fund balance for operations, we don't have any excess money to shift to the capital fund. So the revenue source for the capital fund is a transfer in from the general fund. So it really limits the opportunity for funding capital as we go into 27, 28 and out.
Okay, so that answers part of my concern of funding this through RTA tax. Because one, with the passage of last year's budget, we just passed a modified 5-year plan for transportation, which removed projects from the and safety projects were removed from the 5-year plan because we're going to fund it this way. I have an issue with that the bid for this was known since last June of $3.75 million. The highest number I've ever heard was $3 million in the budget discussions, right? About $3 million. If we had this bid since last June, why weren't we talking it was 3 1/4 or that it was $3 3/4 million instead of $3 million? That's $750,000. Because the budget was passed the way it was, transportation, bridge, and matching funds and our levy on that side was basically obliterated. It's gone. So transportation in our projects gave $500,000 for squad cars, already out of RTA. They also then gave up all their matching funds. And now they're going to give up another $1.8 million. That wasn't expected in their budget, to give up $1.8 million. And you give a couple months' notice that you got to make all these changes, and now transportation goes into a spin. And my question or concern is that where does this stop if we keep bleeding the RTA tax? Where does this stop? It's a slippery slope that we're entering into here. I didn't like it. I expressed my displeasure of the $500,000 for squad cars in the fall when we had the budget hearings on those. So next year, okay, let's just go to the RTA tax. Well, we all know, and someone can criticize my comments here if they like, but I will say in the end, I told you so. With this state and this particular governor that we have, and that they just overhauled our board for RTA, Meta, or Metro, and that, they now have the supermajority control. The collar counties have no say-so of our funding source for the RTA tax. They're gonna bleed us dry, this county and the collar counties, from our RTA taxes. And if we keep spending that RTA tax for non-transportation, and yes, we can legally use it for the sheriff's department. We can legally use it. But if we continue to use that, we're gonna catch ourselves, where we're gonna all of a sudden be trashed, our budgets, because we will not continue to have that long-term funding that is currently there. It will be going away in some sort of fashion. And if we continue to do this in this manner, and I didn't say it in the meeting, I had issue that we took radios, all these radios, in-house in December, prior to the board voting on this, when it requires a supermajority. I take issue on that we shouldn't have taken those beforehand. The other issue I have is I believe we should be taking these radios and all these, and the cameras and all that you're gonna try to go through the RTA tax in the future, that we should be taking that equipment. If it has a 7 to 10 year lifespan, why aren't we purchasing radios or negotiating to purchase a certain amount of those every year instead of taking that hit all at once? And maybe that's a contract thing, I don't know, but there's got to be other alternatives than draining our budget and destroying our budget for this year. This budget, I don't understand why we have some unexplained, unexpected cost of personnel that we didn't explain, that was mentioned in the transportation meeting. I don't understand how our budget is blown out of the water because nobody knew this unexpected cost that was there in personnel. Why didn't we know about that when we're talking about the budget? Because it should have been built into our budget. If this happened this year, or I should say in December, November, December, whenever that finally hit, that nobody seemed to know about, then why did it happen in the past years? But we had the fund balance to basically cover it, but now we don't have the fund balance. So why didn't we have a procedure in place if it did happen in the past? Why don't we have a procedure that projects that? Somebody knows that number. Somebody knew that number. And transportation takes it on the chin every time when this stuff happens. And they were very responsible in their budget. Our committee discussed their budget when it came through. We didn't just rubber stamp it, we discussed it. And we questioned things. and expenditures and made them explain. I'm not blaming it on other committees that they didn't ask their questions, but somebody's not asking questions here. And that's why I'm here today to say, why are we asking questions? And I'm looking for, I don't understand how we got to this point that we have to take it out of RTA tax, the half of it. When transportation uses 17% of the radios, the sheriff's department uses over 70% of the radios. The emergency uses the other big percentage, 11 or 12%. So they use that percentage of the radios. Why isn't that percentage coming out of the budgets of those departments and not transportation paying for 50% out of RTA tax? Why are we doing that? And that's my issue with this. I'm going to continue to be a no vote on this when it gets to the floor. And I just don't understand it, and I'm looking for explanations. I don't want to be the jerk in the room, but you know what? Somebody's got to ask this question. So there's one of my questions. And I'll let you guys all talk. And I don't believe we should be borrowing money. I know that comment came up in transportation, that we should just borrow money. I don't believe that, but go on.
Okay. Terry, do you have anything else?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to go first, Brian?
Well, no, I gave you the floor first, so.
Okay, thank you, because I have about 5 to 10
let's
questions.
go for it.
So how many total radios are there?
526. Yeah. 560.
560?
Yes.
Okay, and were Jim's percentages correct, that 17% for transportation, 11 to 12% for emergency services, and 71% for sheriff?
It was pretty close. I don't have percentages. There's 103 approximately in DOT. Let's see, state's attorney has some health department, coroner's office, and then the rest is OEMA, and then the rest is within the sheriff's office.
Okay. And then all of these users are critical users? They're not?
There's 2 different radios.
Okay.
There's 300 radios that are the N70s, and those are your serious public safety ones for individuals out on the road. So it's got mapping features, so if they got to get out of the squad car and run through a field and they go down, we can map exactly where they're at. The 260 ones are N50s, and they have lesser capabilities. They're not required to have some of that
Okay,
stuff.
but all of these are critical, none of them are just,
We
optional.
sat with every department prior to those numbers to see what their needs were.
okay, great. Thank you for that.
Sure.
And then this was not discussed in budget. Is that because it was a capital expenditure?
So this was discussed in budget. It was part of the total capital, I guess, requests was about $7 million. So we did talk about, starting right out of, we had about 2 million that we're transferring. So already that we did not have the funding to fund everything on the capital list. So we would have to make choices based on that.
Okay, because I remember seeing the capital expenditures in December, but that was after budget. Can you guys just check back to the meeting when that was presented? Because, we have a lot of stuff that we go through. And so I just want to refresh.
So if I can jump in, this
Yeah.
was submitted as a supplemental request for my budget in front of law and government. Scott, I don't remember exactly, June-ish was the meeting.
June or July.
So it was part of my budget package, but then it was moved to capital because it was a capital expense.
Okay,
So we did discuss it in law.
All of the budget presentations we did, and anytime capital was discussed, it was part of that, because it was 7 point some odd million dollars,
yeah,
and the radios was the majority, or half of that basically.
okay, thank you. And then where are the radios right now?
Radios are sitting on pallets in a hallway right outside of receiving. And if I could, do you want me to talk about why they're sitting there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And how long have they been there?
Yeah, so they came December 29th. So we've been working with Motorola for months and months and months. We've been doing this for over a year, trying to get the numbers right. So back in, the quote is actually from May. So back in May, they asked if we could commit to a purchase, and we said we can give you a letter of intent based on, the budget passing, and that was to hold the pricing. The pricing is based off of a state of Illinois contract. State of Illinois contracts with Motorola for the whole Starcom system, which allows for reduced pricing. So early December, Motorola reached out. They wanted to get, our product out of their warehouse so that they could get other product in. We did actually push back a lot because we don't really have the room for the radios either, and then they started throwing in incentives. So working with finance and county administration, it was like, with these incentives. So the training that was offered to get it here by the end of the year has a lot of great value. So we have about 6 to 8 weeks to deploy. They're gonna help, every radio has to be touched, and the codes have to all be put in to it. So they're gonna come out and help do that so we can get it out to all of the departments.
Okay, and then this is my last question. I got hit with a big technology purchase a few years ago, at which point I decided to, and it was because of a change in technology requirements. It wasn't actually bad management on my part, it was just a change. And where things were going to age out, and that was that. And so these were all going to be an end of life, and we had no choice. And so what we decided to do at that point was to step our purchases so that we wouldn't be hit in 1 year. And so that's what we do now and rotate. Now, because of state contracts and volume, is it possible to step the purchases where you could have like a third, or something like that on these purchases so it wouldn't hit,
So a couple different things with that. I think that decision would have been made in 2017 when we moved to the Starcom system, stepping it then. So we're at a point now that, and I don't want to say never, okay? But we are at a point where the radios are failing, the batteries aren't holding charge, and if we were to hold on to 2/3 this year, next year, not only is it going to be more expensive, but we will probably be making emergency purchases based on the failing radios.
Well, I'm not talking so much about now as going forward.
Okay.
So and that's what I don't know.
So if we do it going forward, we should probably start at the 5-year mark so that we're interchanging them. So if we, with the purchase now in 5 years, in 2031, we should probably start doing a third. So by the time we get, the older ones.
Yeah, that would have to be the coroners and the state's attorneys and the last third.
Yeah, well, yeah, so. They're not in the room, right? But, yeah, so that's.
I'm just asking.
Those are great.
Because it is a big hit, as far as the expenditure, and so. Okay, and then just one last comment, and I know it's very difficult, but I think that if every board member could get into the habit and take responsibility for listening to every committee meeting, then they would be aware of these things, and I don't know that that's a habit or an expectation even. I think it would be very helpful. So that's just a comment, and I think at the COW, definitely want to remind people, encourage them to take the time to do that. It's only an extra 6 hours a month.
Are you done, Terry? Okay, we'll just go around. Brian?
Thank you. On the other two committees that I considered this, I kind of took the position that this is generally a requirement. I mean, we live on these radios as it were. We are highly dependent upon them, not just in police, but emergency services and transportation and others. And so it is really important. And I think the lifetime limitations have been reached now that we started to have some significant problems. And so it is appropriate for us to move forward with this. So I'm going to support the purchase of these. However, I don't disagree with Jim, and I don't disagree with Scott, because I do believe, and Mike, excuse me, I do believe that it's inappropriate to use RTA money for this. I don't think that's the right thing to do. It's eligible, I agree, but we're taking away from we're taking away from transportation projects, significant, important projects. And I agree with the fact that there is a possibility of kind of, well, we've done this in the past, we're going to continue to do this, and that could get us into trouble. So I think Jim has made a good point in that regard. We do have to remember that, again, we can't get along without these radios. I mean, that's foundational. So we can't get along without them. We've got to get them. I was one at transportation that complimented staff, and I still compliment staff for going ahead and accepting the delivery of these kind of, and it was before the approval process. I don't really like that, but I admire administration who has the chutzpah to go ahead and move forward on things that we know have to be done. So I appreciate that. I think it's appropriate to contact all the committee chairs to let them know in advance that this is what it is, get their commentary on that. I know that I trust that you work with the administration. I trust that you worked with the board chair, but I do commend you for just moving forward and getting them, and that we have them and we're ready to go. So the question comes down to, how do we fund it? And I guess bottom line, I'm willing to go ahead and support the purchase, but I would really like to see us take this out of general funds. And I just think that's the way to go with this. And I want to know how we get that done. We have to understand that this is a really complex process. It's not easy. We have to go through a approval process by the board. We have to go through the procurement process in-house. We have to go through the state purchasing agreement program guidelines and oversight and timing. We have to go through Motorola's plans and their efficiency and getting these out to us. We have to make sure that we are working with Starcom, the system, the opportunities, but the limitations. I mean, this is not an easy thing that exists. There's a lot involved in this. So I am pleased that the staff has worked to get these things done. That's why I'm not going to criticize them for going ahead and moving forward. I think there's the right thing to do, but let's find a way to pay for them outside of RTA. Bottom line.
Are you making a motion to amend the?
Not yet. I want to hear from other people.
Okay. Brian, do you have anything else?
No, thank you. Not at the moment.
Don?
Thank you. I agree with Jim also. I think that taking this money from RTA sets a bad precedent and using those funds for transportation expenses. The problem is we're in a box, okay? And frankly, we're in a box of our own doing. And we're sitting here, we're very limited on what we can use RTA funds for, okay? So it's not like if we decide to use general fund capital dollars to pay for this project, if we have a project that comes up down the road, we can just take RTA money later on and plug into that. That's money that's spent, that's gone, it's done. And we saw all the projections, and Carrie's statements is correct. We don't have money coming in to replace the capital fund for general fund activities. It's just not there. We're going to use fund balance to pay, fix the whole Social Security loan thing and do all that. We talked about doing that, and that just brings that general fund balance down. And then we're going to use it for other day-to-day expenses. So we've got ourselves in a box here, and this is something we have to do. And unfortunately, there's the money to do it. And it's going to take a lot of work on our part to figure out how we avoid doing that going forward. But we don't have a lot of room this time to maneuver on this. We just don't. We just don't. And as much as I don't like using that money for that, because the transportation projects are important, I think this, unfortunately, we're boxed in, we have to do it in this case. So I'm going to support the resolution primarily for that reason. Oh, just one other comment. I just want to clarify on the borrowing thing. I think what I said was we don't borrow for road projects, and that's a decision we've made, and we pay for those with cash. I wasn't advocating to borrow for them. I was just making that statement because that question's come up to me before, so I just wanted to clarify.
And if I can add into that, I understand what you're saying there, but the road projects, these projects are coming up, and we save money over the years for that. We appropriate those funds. Should be doing it with these radios and everything. We should be appropriating those funds every single year and putting them in a pool that says when the time comes to pay for them, we can pay for them. And it should be appropriated that way and not say, wait a minute, let's take RTA funds.
I'm sorry. And I think we do that. I think we have a general fund capital, correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yes.
You have a general fund capital project fund that we put money into every year with the idea of paying for projects. Our ability to replace that fund has been severely diminished. And that's the challenge we have today.
Yes.
Looking forward, that's the challenge. And that's why we're at where we're at.
Yeah, this is all part of the package from the budget process we just went through. I mean, this is what got us to this point of you having to use this money. I agree with Jim, I don't like using it, but the whole budget process put us in this position. And I don't see that, I mean, we need the radios, so I don't see any other way to go with it right now. I'm not comfortable replenishing the general fund. That doesn't make any sense either. I mean, it's all the money. Do we push it here or do we push it there? So I'm going to support it. I don't like it that we're doing it. I'd like to think at some point, a few years ago, we did replenish some transportation funds. I don't remember how much that was, 3 million or something. And hopefully next year's budget, people would say, hey, we can't take it from the transportation. We can't take it from the RTA. Will that happen next year? I don't know. When it comes next year and everybody's pushing for a tight budget, that may or may not happen. But it would be a nice thought that we'd get these transportation funds back so we can move on with the bridges, et cetera, and these safety issues. So that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. Eric, do you have anything?
No, not at this time, other than, I believe money's fungible, so I don't really see a difference whether it comes from the general fund or the RTA fund. Out of curiosity, I don't know if it was said, what's the RTA's funds out right now?
The RTA has a strong fund balance. It's around 30 some million.
And what is it going to be, I guess, once all these expenditures are made, out of it and everything else that's planned for the year? I mean, are we going to have ample money to cover everything for the year, next year, et cetera?
I think the question is, I think this is a relatively small amount of money coming from the RTA fund, but I think the question and probably what you're getting at is we've been relying on strong fund balances with no real plan of how we're going to replace those fund balances. So, in my opinion, even the 1.8 plus the 500, it's more of the point of taking it from RTA versus the strength of that fund, or the unknowns with the state and if that fund will stay strong. But it is a strong fund. So is MFT.
Right, and I get that, but you say strong, what's that mean? Are we able to cover everything for the year, for next year? Is there any impending or even remotely, like within a couple years, issue by spending this money?
I think that circles back to the transportation program and them making changes to that program right now to plan for the reductions to this fund.
So Eric,
yes.
Eric, that's what we talked about in transportation. So, you know, the transportation department every year revises their 5-year program, and we just voted last month, or this month, I should say, last meeting on the new 5-year program. And in that 5-year program, they listed at the end of the program all of the projects that were taken out of last year's 5-year program because the funds weren't there. So when you look at what their fund balance is, that fund balance is supporting the contracts that will theoretically come up in the future to support whatever's in that 5-year program. And so transportation every year goes back and revises that program based on, you know, perhaps in a bridge inspection, a bridge went from, 80 to down to a 50 because a couple of the beams have failed. Well, suddenly that bridge now has to move up in the 5-year program because it's now, considered a failing bridge. So they're constantly changing that program based on what is most critical and important to the county. And so it's when Jim's talking about, I'm not put words in your mouth, but when Jim's talking about keep on taking money away from transportation by use of RTA dollars to what the safety side of it, can that be done? Yes, but we're also either moving out or removing completely programmed projects that no longer can be done or have to be moved out. And so it comes to a choice of, as us 18 board members, where do we want to value those dollars? Because like you said, Eric, it can all be kind of somewhat moved around based on, levies, but ultimately, what is the higher priority for our county in which areas? And I think that's the problem/discussion. We have those discussions during budget cycle every single year. But again, like I've said at other finance meetings, everyone on the board has an area that they have passions about. And so naturally, they don't want to cut areas where they have passions on. And it's not a bad thing. It's just the reality is the revenue stream in all of these different areas is somewhat limited, and so therefore we as 18 members have to try and figure out what the priority is for each of those.
Understood. You said that was at this month's meeting of transportation, where you guys adjusted the projects?
Yep, correct. So if you go back to this couple, what was it, last week, I think.
Right.
And you go to the board agenda, look under the 5-year program, and it's a 100-page document that has all of the information in there.
Okay, I'll take a look. Thank you.
Okay, so my issue revolves around some of the same things that Jim had expressed. I try to look at all of the different areas of the county and where we need to allocate resources to, meaning dollars, and so I'm not against the radio contract whatsoever. It's something that we need. It's how we're funding the purchase of those that I'm struggling with. And I do feel that the board, through decisions that the majority of the board has made, even though I disagree with them, I'm supporting that the majority of the board has relied upon the transportation RTA fund to support operational expenses. And that I fundamentally have a problem with. You know, when the discussion at, you know, the bill that ended up getting signed and passed about, you know, where all that was coming from, one of the verges of that was taking away RTA dollars and diverting it. And the collar counties got up in arms about that, especially some of the counties that were relying on that to make payments for their, you know, their salaries and everything else. You know, we weren't in that position. Ours pretty much exclusively go to road programs, road and bridge programs. But, you know, something like that can easily happen in the future. And so the more we divert money away from the intended use, again, I'm saying intended, I understand safety is an intended use of those dollars, but to me causes a concern, because at some point, how do we as a county recover from that? Is it gonna happen next year? No. Will it happen 5 years from now? Probably not. But long term, you know, I feel like we as a county have done a really good job of maintaining our infrastructure here in the county through roads and bridges. And that's something I'm very proud of. And I've expressed in transportation, I've expressed here in finance, you know, it's really nice to go out in a snowstorm and be able to travel county roads, you know. I don't have to worry about sliding off the road. I don't have to worry about literally plowing snow with my car in order to get somewheres, you know. And so it's to me, you know, again, I've said this numerous times. My wife says to me when we're out driving around, she's like, wow, this is really nice paved. I'm like, yeah, it's a county road, you know, or it's, you know, wow, that, you know, it's actually salted. It's pretty nice to drive on when it's snowing up. Yeah, it's a county road, you know, and I take pride in that, you know, it's like, and I think the general public honestly probably doesn't know what's a county road versus a township road versus a municipal road versus a state road. All they know is, hey, when I go down X road, pick whichever one you want, wow, it's actually cleared and it has salt on it. And there's actually, I can see plow trucks driving on it, and I see people repairing it, and I see people doing the maintenance to it. And so could that paradigm shift? You know, realistically, yeah, it could shift, you know. I mean, we as a county board and future county boards could be like, no, you know what, we don't want our roads to be the better roads out of all the roads that people travel on. And I think staff would adjust what they do and how they do it in order to meet that paradigm. Am I recommending that? No, but you know, we have a maintenance preservation program in transportation. You know, can we alter that maintenance? Yeah, we can. Will it probably end up costing us more? Yeah, it probably will. But if that's what the board chooses, that's what the board chooses. The big picture side of the county budget is something that is very difficult for everyone to grapple and wrap their head around. You know, individual departments don't necessarily, it's not that they don't care, but they're involved with their own individual departmental budget. They're involved with how to spend those dollars to the best of their ability, doing the best they can with as much as they can. You know, what happens in another department, yes, they care about because we're all part of the same organization, but ultimately they're not responsible for what happens in other departments. And so it becomes a challenge. And so as 18 board members, our challenge is to try and put it all together and put it all into the mixing pot and come out with a really tasty, whatever we're making, analogy. I personally think our whatever we're trying to make is becoming pretty shitty tasting right now. And I'm still salty from last year's budget. I'm still putting that out there. But, you know, we're having a hard time with all the things that we want to do, the things that we want to be proud of, and still make it work with the limited resources we have. So, to this resolution, totally support the radios, just not supporting how it's being funded. Second round. Terry, do you have anything on the second round?
I had one question. When this was brought up in, originally, was it discussed at that point how it would be funded? Because I can't remember.
It was not talked specifically about how it would be funded, but one thing we did talk about when we talked about the 500,000 for the squads from RTA was that very soon in the new fiscal year, we would be having discussions about funding the radios.
Okay.
Okay, Brian?
I appreciate very, very much John's summary. I think he's spot on with everything that he stated. My question is, if we could come up with an alternative approach to paying for these without using the RTA funds, where would that additional 1.8 million, I think it is, where would that come from? Just tell me where we would come up with that money.
That would come out of the capital fund. So really, we're talking about, making future cuts. And so with the resolution, the way it's written now, those cuts would be coming out of transportation. And if it shifts to the capital fund, then it would be what's going to be cut either from the general fund, so it has money to fund the capital fund, or what capital programs will we not be doing?
Or we could use reserves, correct?
Yes.
What is the palatability among the committee members that we would be willing to do something? This is a one every 8 to 10 year purchase, right? What's
Question.
Go ahead, John.
It's never mind. Answer my own question.
Okay. Here's what Carrie doesn't like to use fund reserves to pay for stuff like this, because fund reserves are what she relies on for unexpected things that will continue to come up year over year, month over month. And she has to make sure that the county is solvent in all funds in all departments. And so by using fund reserves and depleting that fund or taking that fund further down, she sees the big picture of what things will be happening 2, 3, 4, 5 years out. And that, not to put words in your mouth, but that's a scary outlook, because you're trying to figure out how we're going to, knowing what the big picture is, how we're going to utilize that. So, someone could say, well, it's only 1.8 million. What's the big deal? We had board members when we were talking about budget. Well, we have fund reserves over our 5-month policy, and that equates to 6-7 million, Well, we got 6-7 million, we can spend extra, right? And again, 5-month reserve is a great number, but in some of our levies, it's not, because it's strictly relied on property taxes. So 5 months is probably not enough. Others, it is, when we have other revenue sources that can support those funds. So, maybe instead of taking 1.8 from RTA, maybe we take, I don't think anyone here has brought up anything about the 1.8 coming out of capital. That everyone seems to be okay with that. It's half of the equation, it's the other half. So maybe we look at trying to divide up the 1.8 coming from RTA and do something different. And maybe that is we take a little bit from every place, you know. Some of the radios are going to transportation, so maybe instead of 1.8, maybe we take, you know, 300,000 from transportation from RTA, and maybe we take, you know, $500,000 from fund reserves, and we take the rest from capital. You know, we can do whatever we want collectively, but to me, I have no issue having transportation pay for some of the radios because they are using some of the radios, you know? I just have a problem with they're not using half of them, and that's kind of my issue.
I'm going to ask the question again. What's the palatability among committee members and Jim of saying that we want this to come from the capital fund or reserves?
Carrie, didn't you have a spreadsheet that showed the effect of?
Sorry, I can't help with that.
Here's your answer.
Okay, I don't know what just happened.
Unbelievable.
AI at work for you.
Okay,
Well, AI, can you fix this problem for us? Didn't you have a spreadsheet that showed, like, if this money comes from the capital, from reserves or capital fund, what was gonna happen?
I do have the projection, but I did not build in taking the additional 1.8 from the general fund reserves.
Okay.
But I can fix that and resend it out.
So, well, I was just gonna answer Brian's question. Yes, I am more than happy with creating some other solution besides what's currently in the resolution. That's the only way you're gonna get me to a yes, to be honest with you, so.
Well, I think it makes sense then to vote on this, either up or down, and then if it passes, you have the cow, right, to have your solution.
Yeah, Eric, that's true. Just remember that this requires a supermajority, so if you need 14 yes votes. So.
No, for sure, but, and people can live or die on it, but it's not like we're gonna be in a different position if it fails, right?
Well, I don't know what do you mean? If our voting meeting on Tuesday it fails?
If it fails at our Tuesday meeting, right, I assume it's not time critical that it happens this month. And therefore, if it failed, if it didn't have the support, then we just do this whole thing over again with whatever the tweaks needed are to get the 14?
I don't know, Whitby. I haven't asked the question of how mission critical is it that we get this done this month.
So Motorola did ask when, you know, what the process was, so they're thinking that after the meeting on Tuesday, that they could invoice us and we would pay. I can go back and ask them if they can wait a month. I don't think they'll help us with the training until they know that they have their money.
Oh, I'm sure they would, yeah. I personally wouldn't have dropped off the product till I knew I had the money, but you know, I understand they're trying to dump their inventory at the end of the year so they don't have it sitting on their books. So,
Bless you.
God bless you. Go ahead, all right.
Mike, I'm not on the committee. Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
On the funding issue on the fight, I gave my opinion on it, that I don't think transportation should pay for this. I believe and totally am for the RTA fund paying for the radios that the transportation department uses. And I believe that would be digestible to that staff. In the past, let me ask you this, if we can't get consensus of moving it from different funds or splitting it forward, is there a possibility, instead of taking it all from the RTA as a withdrawal, but in the past, it was done as a loan to the capital fund from the RTA. I don't know if you can legally do that. Just like the Social Security, just like transportation, when their funds were drained down, it was back.
You can do interfund loans, but I don't know why, you wouldn't do an interfund loan when the money, cash is there.
That's all I'm asking. I just thought that might be an alternative instead of hitting them permanently. But I want us to buy the radios. I just don't want, I agree with you and the other members here, it shouldn't come all out of RTA.
So what was transportation, you said how many was transport, I'm just gonna.
103 out of 506.
He was
Oh,
calling it
that's
17%, 18%, whatever.
18%.
It's 18%, okay, times,
So they.
1.8.
3 points, I'll just say 3
Oh.
points.
Comes up to about 663,750.
600
Are
what?
you, which radio?
I was gonna say, the radios aren't equal,
Yeah,
That's of the total
it's not a
cost.
straight line.
We're only talking
Scott,
right
do you
now about
remember
our
that they talked to you about
portion of the
M50s
cost out of the
or
capital fund,
M70s?
which is 50% right now.
I wasn't part of those. Okay.
We're on the cheaper radios, the S50s.
You have the M50s? Okay.
I don't think.
so how much are the N, whatever, 50s?
They average 6,700 apiece, I think, if you do the multiplication on average.
Yeah, but the 50s are the lower grade
Right.
ones.
Well, yeah, they have it broken down, so let's,
Jim's, you're close, he's close. About 6,700.
are you adding,
For all the radios.
there's some of the services that are for all of them, not just,
Yeah, the radios, 32.
The 3267 per radio.
2,200.
for all
yep,
those.
and then you've got the security bundle,
Yeah.
the Impress, I wouldn't put the radio management in there.
So give me some numbers real quick, what do we,
3267 plus 2244
I don't need to get exact here, I'm just trying to get an idea.
6,000.
Huh?
plus 623.
6,000 approximately?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for unfit.
Okay, so 6,000 times, and you said 103. 100, so roughly 600,000. Is that a pretty,
618,000, right?
okay.
And therefore, transportation is paying a little bit more for the radios that they use, the quality radios that they use, correct? Because you're using the cheaper cost radio, not the $6,700 radio. You're using the cheaper one. And so you're actually paying more if you pay this amount, the 600,000, than what you're getting.
Well, this was
But I'm willing to live with
The
that.
6,000 is the
That was-
less expensive.
That was the
radio.
cheaper
Well,
one.
that is the cheapest.
67, you're right, Jim, it's about 6,700, but that is the cheaper radio.
Okay.
So let's clarify that. 6,700 is the cheaper radio that transportation uses.
No, 6,000.
6,000.
6,000.
So
But
what,
that includes, excuse me, that includes all of the supplementals, support things?
yeah, because the radios themselves were 3267,
Okay.
she said.
All right.
So what if we were to do 600,000 from, I'm just talking about the 1.8, 75204, which is the other half of it. So if we were to make, out of that 1,875,204, 600,000 come from RTA, 600,000 come from capital, and 675,204 come from fund reserves. I know, don't shoot me later, okay?
I would increase that. I mean, the figure is actually 618,000. I just said 618,000 or 620,000, whatever. And then I don't disagree with your other breakdown.
Well, my problem is we already took $500,000 for squad cars from RTA this year, so it's like, I don't need to,
So you and I are going to argue over $18,000.
I would, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I'll let you
Well, plus the matching bridge and funding,
Pardon?
plus the matching funds that we eliminated. We eliminated those too.
We did.
It was $1.5 million.
Okay.
Here's where, I mean, Jim and I mentioned this, you know, one of the projects that got cut out of the 5-year program was in Jim and my district, which is the Main Street Road extension for the school. And, you know, that's a big ass problem in our neck of the woods, you know? I didn't say anything at transportation, but I can tell you that people aren't happy with that being taken out. You know, and again, I'm trying to look at this as a whole county, saying what's best for the whole county, and maybe that's not best for the whole county. And yes, I understand it's only, you know, a real problem in the morning and a real problem in the afternoon and a real problem when there's football games and other big events that go on at the school. But, you know, if I was a selfish bastard, I'd be like, no, put that back in again, because that's what my district needs. I didn't do that because I'm trying to look for the best of everybody here. So yes, I would argue over $18,000, Brian.
And I've stated I would give it to you, 18,000, I'm not gonna argue at that point. But the underlying premise then is to divide it a third.
Roughly, yes.
Between RTA, reserves, and capital, correct?
RTA Capital Fund Reserve, yes. Yes.
And Carrie is twitching.
I'm judging.
Well,
You
Go
go.
ahead.
you sort of pointed at me, and I didn't know if Brian was done.
You go
I
first.
did say thank you. All this is just gonna boil back down to what's our next budget talks look like. Because now we're gonna have less fund reserve, less money in the capital. So what are we gonna do at our next budget talks? And I don't know that that's a problem, but I hope there's not an ulterior motive in doing this to make it that way. Because I do think that there's some, and maybe I'm one of them, I guess, this has sort of come on up this morning, but I do think that the next budget talks, and there's gonna be some leverage to say, hey, our capital fund got depleted, hey, our fund balance got depleted, we have to do this. So, that's just what's on my mind right now.
Well, I think it is putting pressure. It's gonna put pressure regardless of what we do here, it's gonna put pressure on next year's budget. Next year's budget's a shit show. We already knew that.
Because of this
Yes, but
3.75 million.
Yes, it is, but if it comes all out of RTA, the speaking points, the leverage of the capital fund being depleted, the fund reserve being depleted, will not be there. You can argue that, okay, the RTA funds were taken, but that's in a different bucket kind of thing.
It is, and you're right, and so I guess, again, you're making my point for me, that transportation and RTA funds always seems to get the ugly stepchild award because no one cares about, you know, that side of it.
Well, I'm just making my thoughts out there that what I'm gonna be looking forward to the next budget talks and how the leverages are gonna be played with the group of people that sit at these tables. And I'm not sure that I'm completely against that we have that talking point.
Well,
I'll deal with it next year or when it comes.
well, I
I think that talking point is gonna be there no matter what. I think that when you looked at the projections coming into this budget conversation, the hole that exists and the inability to move, there's not gonna be the ability to move money in the capital project, regardless if we do this or not do this. Which brings my, Carrie, the $600,000 that would come out of the capital fund, what project is that gonna affect? Do we know? What?
We were actually just talking about body cameras. So that's, again, the capital plan, and I know that's one thing Scott's working on, is to kind of say, here's the needs, right? Here's the funding. How do you want to prioritize this list? And we're gonna have body cameras on there, that's a have to do. We've learned, I think over the past several years, delaying capital just ends up costing us more. So it can definitely be done. It's just, what are we gonna cut out in the future?
Larry, that was very well said. Thank you.
Thank you.
But I'm also looking at it as a perspective of the percentage of these funds, what we're taking from them versus what is. And so that's why I look at what we'd be taking from the RTA versus the other funds, the capital and the general reserve. So we have to look at, these are life and safety issues, so it has to be done. There are things that are mandatory, mandated, unfunded, all of those types of things that we have to deal with. There are going to be other areas where we do have some leverage that we won't like cutting, that we're going to have to cut. So we have to do what we've got to do here, and then we have to be very diligent about looking at expenditures that we can cut. We have to, and we're not gonna like it. And those are gonna be even more difficult situations because they will be the like to haves but don't have to haves. So I think that, yes, this has to come out of RTA just because of the relative percentage amount and the nature of the fund. So, no, I don't like the idea of changing what the source of the funding is. I don't like the idea of the bridges being delayed. I don't understand why you wouldn't advocate for your district, but that's up to you.
I will.
You will advocate for
When
your
you're done,
district.
I'm gonna advocate, go ahead.
Good. Okay. And then also too, this is something completely unrelated, but 7.4 has a typo. There's a comma where the cents are. So the resolution 7.4. So just, can we just get that
Yes.
corrected before the count?
Okay.
I think it should be pointed out that two guys from the same district are on transportation.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Just saying.
We have 4 guys from 2 districts, that's right.
Okay.
Sure.
Just saying.
We have that on other committees too, the same way.
All right.
But, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I came through that intersection on the way here, 2 accidents this morning. Granted, it's snowing. And it was taken off the 5-year plan. Next year, that whole corridor is starting into housing. That whole corridor is gonna fill up with houses here. And we've removed it from the plan for improvement under there. It's only gonna compound itself. I don't like we took it off of that plan because of our budget. And that had nothing to do with these radios, because that was because of the budget we passed in November. That had nothing to do with it, that we had the radios coming. That was taken off because of our actual budget, okay, our shortfall. So that needs to be fixed somehow, so yes, I am advocating because a lot of these projects are, the paths along Randall Road, big safety issue. You've had deaths on people walking across Randall Road being killed. And now we're gonna take away bike paths and walk paths because we don't have the funds to pay for them? They were in our 5-year plan, now they're not there anymore. So safety issue. So I believe Member Scala's solution here will get the votes to pass this on the floor. I don't believe this passes on the floor and then you're in a really sticky situation. Because your training, as you were stating, you had 6 to 8 weeks offered on training because you took them early. That's going to expire by the time you do pay for it. And I assume you can renegotiate that.
I agree with Jim. I think this has to be pounded out at this month and have the funds available to be paying for these radios and keep it moving along. It's silly to have them sitting on the dock and not paid for.
Sitting on the dock of the bay.
So,
Waiting
and it should be pounded out, and it should be pounded out here.
Sitting on the
My last comment.
Yeah.
And I'll probably throw a monkey wrench in this whole thing. But I just remembered, transportation got a $2.3 million unrestricted grant last month, correct? That you weren't planning on?
Correct. Yep.
So, I mean, doesn't that kind of offset this 1.6 and put some of those projects back in place? If we keep it the way it is, doesn't that 2.3 million then offset that?
I think, well, if you're asking for my
So this
personal.
wouldn't even impact the budget?
What, Eric?
So we got did you say $2.3 million grant? We weren't
I
expecting.
forget what the number was.
2.3, I think is 2.3, 2.4. Yeah. At transportation, we were told that there was a grant that we weren't expecting that we got awarded to us. I think they said we were the only one in the state that got that award, right? For 2.3 or 2.4. So that happened like 2 weeks ago.
So whether this money comes out of the RTA or not, it literally has no impact on what we anticipated our budget to be.
It still does.
I would argue that's not true, but
You see what I'm saying though? Like we're getting roughly 2 million more and we're taking 1.6 out. So you're still transportation's still gonna be 400,000 more in the black than anticipated otherwise.
I understand that conceptually, yes. But
Okay.
the problem with, go ahead, Eric. Oh, it's okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I do have to dip out soon. So if we're filibustering it, awesome. If we're voting on it, if we're amending it, if we're picking it, that's awesome, but I'm gonna be unable to vote on it. So if we're just trying to, whatever the end result is, I apologize, but would we be able to do it fairly soon?
Yeah, I think we've all kind of said our piece. So if you want, I will make a motion to amend the resolution for, and just so that I can do this properly here. Be it further resolved, it says, an emergency appropriation in the RTA fund fiscal year 2026 budget of $1,875,204. I would make a motion to amend that to say an emergency appropriation in the RTA fund fiscal year 2026 budget of $600,000 in the capital fund, which is the line that starts this. I would amend that by increasing it by $600,000, and I would add verbiage that an emergency appropriation, or would you just say it would just be removing from fund reserves, I guess?
Yeah, so an emergency appropriation transfer.
From fund reserves.
From general fund reserves to capital.
Okay, in the amount of $675,204. So that
The
was
600,000 from general fund? Did I hear that correctly?
$675,204 from fund reserves in the general fund.
It's a motion.
That's my motion, yes. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion or questions about the motion that I made? Okay. If not, we'll just go to vote then. All those in favor of that amendment say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
No,
Nay.
Okay, so motion fails 3-3. So with that, we have the original resolution back on the table. Is there any other amendments that anyone wants to make, or we want to just vote on what's there?
You gotta,
I'd make a motion.
somebody to, obviously we got people in favor of spreading this expense out. So I think if we're gonna get anywhere, it's probably gonna have to be something from one of the people that voted no. Because otherwise, if the yes people are just, what do we spread, 500 here, or 50 here, 50 there, different? I don't think that's gonna be the case. I think the people that voted no really have something else they wanna say.
But Larry, it only had 2 no votes in transportation, so why would it not pass a count? I mean, in the board meeting.
We got 3 here. Which one of those was transportation?
So I guess I'm a little confused what you're
We're back
asking.
at the original resolution. right?
Correct.
Exactly. So the question is, if someone's gonna amend it, we just vote on the original resolution.
And
Correct.
that's fine, he was asking if anybody was.
I'll make that motion.
I think we
Wait,
already have a
we
motion.
already have a motion, Eric. All right, well, let's
I'll second it then.
just go to vote. Okay, let's just go to vote on the resolution as it is currently presented. And even if it fails, it still goes to the full board. It just won't go on, it'll go on new and unfinished business. So it still moves regardless of what the vote is here.
I get it. I just thought if there was gonna be a different amendment, that it would come from a no vote. But if there's not, there's not. That's
There's
fine, too.
not, that's fine. And the board can deal with it on the board floor, so.
This cannot go into consent again on the floor because it's supermajority. It has to be separated out anyway.
It could still go on consent, even under supermajority.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna go to vote. Brian, you're first up.
No.
John?
Yes.
Larry?
No.
Terry?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And I'm a no. So that means we got 3 yes, 3 no's, so motion does not pass, so it'll go on new and unfinished business as a non-passed out of finance. Okay? We'll have more fun on Thursday and Tuesday.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Is that tomorrow already?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you everyone for the good discussion, I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, we still have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Advanced McHenry County, we don't have a report this month?
No.
Okay. So you're up next then, 11.1.
I just want to report that we had the preliminary audit second week of December. It went really well, so we're getting ready for the final field work, March 9th. That's what we're busy doing. Trying to finish the budget document, we're getting close.
Okay. So the budget policy, when are you planning on bringing that forward?
Scott and I haven't really talked about it too much, but maybe March or April.
So is that gonna show like what the 25 actually ended up at and then where we are in 26?
So I'm hoping by February, we'll at least have some preliminary numbers that we can talk about. We won't have like the final audit report until the end of May, but at least we'll have some high level like about what the fund reserve will be.
Okay.
Just kind of, because I think that will be helpful as we start the discussion of the budget policy.
I think the sooner you can bring the budget policy document to us, the better off we'll all be.
You want to try March?
That would be fabulous.
Okay.
Because I think we collectively as a board need to try and figure out how we're going to try and put a budget together this year, given the constraints that we have. And I think the process that we've been using might not work really well again. And so I think we need to reimagine what that looks like. I brought up some ideas after last, here at Finance about what potentially we could do, but somehow, some way we need to have a better all 18 members need to have a better understanding about what all the departments are doing and not just the ones that are liaison to those committees. So,
All 18.
anyways. All right, do you have anything else?
I do not, unless you guys have something for me.
Members? No? Okay, EDC, I'm trying to think if we have anything going on. I can say that the EDC is looking to hire another individual to try and keep up with the workload that has been coming in for economic development. I'm trying to think, Scott, were you at yesterday?
I was at, yeah, that was a major topic of discussion.
Okay.
That position. One of the concerns was obviously looking at cash flow to support it, but Mark's gonna do some analysis, but he got general support to move forward.
Question. Why?
Why what?
Why are they adding another headcount?
I'm sorry, what?
Why are they adding on another headcount? What's the demand?
So right now, there are, okay, so I'll back up a little bit. So they have two FTEs right now. And what's currently
The
happening,
marketing person and Mark?
I'm sorry, what?
The marketing person and Mark?
Yes, correct. So what's currently happening is when they get a lot of inquiries from potential businesses that want to move here. So let's just say you want to move your business here. So the first thing is you fill out, a long like questionnaire application type thing. And then typically the site readiness program, as far as what do you have that meets those requirements that the business has, right, or needs. And right now we don't have a consolidated site readiness for the whole county. So what happens is Mark will look at what the requirements are for the business, and he has to try and determine, is there a municipality or unincorporated area that would even consider it. So if let's just say he figures there's 4 municipalities that might be viable for it. So he has to send all that out to those municipalities. They have to in turn have to wait and get back to him. And usually the turnaround time on these things is like a week. And so so he's doing all of that legwork just to deal with one particular application. He's not spending any time on doing the outreach and the needs that he has for the current businesses that are here. So what we're finding is that he's spending a lot of time trying to get one side of it, which was bringing new businesses here, and he's not spending as much time as he needs to be going out and supporting the current businesses that are here. And so it's a balancing act all the time. So we as a county have lost out on opportunities to bring new businesses here because either A, we don't have the time to get the information back, or B, we're not having the site readiness is really a major stumbling block for us. And so if we were to hire a new person, they could exclusively work on that aspect for the first several months, because it would be mission critical to the first thing new businesses would look at. So, and then they could work on that side of the equation where Mark could focus more on the current businesses that are here and supporting growth and initiatives to get them up and running.
And then this may not be the place to have this discussion, but I just have to ask, there's nothing in McCog or something with the state where we're using AI to look at the database with the different municipalities and then the industrial parks and what's available and incorporated and unincorporated to almost instantly know what the availability is?
So that's what we're working on, but it's not all consolidated into one location, one program, so each municipality has their own, but
AI, I mean, AI pulling it?
Well,
and I know,
but it's got to be out there. In order for AI to do the work, it has to know about it, right? It can't pull from something that it doesn't have the resource to pull from. So I think AI could do it, but when it's not, I mean, when you look at, I hate to pick on Marengo, but Marengo doesn't have jack squat. So, you know, we have conceptually all the land that's there and what we're trying to do in order to develop that corridor. But honestly, that could be a full-time job for MCEDC, you know, because Marengo doesn't have any staff working on it at all. And they only have a part-time administrator who theoretically could be doing some of that. So, you know, what we collectively as a board have said is an important corridor for future economic development is really sucking right now because there isn't any resources to dump into it to get it together. So we've had businesses that have come out and are interested in the greenfield space that Marengo has, but again, that's taking Mark ungodly amount of hours.
Is this on the 2026 McHenry agenda?
Well, and McHenry has now had, we made McHenry a permanent seat on our board. I mean, they've always come, but now they're a voting member of our board because they are integral in everything that's been going on. So we're trying to do collectively better as a resources, but quite honestly, 2 FTEs are just not enough horsepower to try and do all the work that we're trying to get accomplished.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Is any of the issues with their time have to do with the enterprise zone?
Yes.
Derek's time?
Oh, EDC times taking care of the enterprise zone?
Well, that is taking time, yes, but I don't think that is the linchpin as far as,
Okay.
you know.
That's a fine answer. I just didn't know where that was at.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, that's critical because they should be doing that, right? It's all about development of that zone and working together. And so, yes, that does take some time away, but there's also a revenue stream that supports that also.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's critical because the municipalities that are a part of that are areas that we're trying to develop.
I didn't know if I was going to go to the next enterprise zone board meeting and have a conversation about that it wasn't the fees that they were getting from to take care of it weren't covering the time. But if it sounds to me like it is or adequate.
It is. We've been tracking that. We've asked Mark to track those so that we know better and can report back out what that is.
Okay.
So that we know.
Great.
Okay. All right, Natural McHenry County, I don't know who's.
Actually, that's now me.
Sweet.
So,
Transition.
as part of the transition, your deputy county administrator will continue to be the representative on the Naturally McHenry County Board. I was appointed to start my first meeting today, actually this afternoon, for their finance committee, and I'll have my next one tomorrow. So again, I'll be sure to keep this committee up to date on everything that's going on with Natural, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Sweet. Okay. We don't have a need for an executive session, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 10:05.
Moved. Second.
Larry and John, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.